Hi, everybody. I'm Dave,
And I'm John.
and this is Coffee and Capes, podcast where we two enthusiasts talk about two things we really enjoy: coffee and geek culture.
We do. We're coming up on 20 episodes too, which is kind of crazy to think about.
It is.
This is episode 19.
This is episode 19. We're having a good time. We hope you are too. Obviously, you found us in some manner or another on one medium or another, but we're available on multiple. John, give us the rundown. How can everybody find us, and how can they connect with us?
Yeah, so if you're watching us online, you clearly found us on YouTube.
Hi.
But we're also on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all over the podcast universe world. You can find us on Instagram at coffee_N_capes. We're on the Facebook and the Twitter. You can also shoot us an email at supers, SUPERS, at coffeeandcapes.com. I think that's it. We got a website coming, guys. So keep an eye out for that if you are interested. I don't know where I was going with that thought. I really don't know. I'm sorry. I've not had enough coffee this morning. Speaking of coffee, Dave.
Yeah, I'm still distracted by the idea of Universe World. That sounds like a cool theme park where it's all like science, astronomy stuff.
Yes, Universe World.
And all the narration is done by old tracks of Carl Sagan.
No,
Billions
Mr. Spock.
And billions of years ago.
Mr. Spock and so Leonard Nimoy and Morgan Freeman.
That's much better. That's a much better choice.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
We just have to figure out.
Can we throw some James Earl Jones in there?
Yeah, of course. But all he does is breathe in the background.
Right.
And that's the noise, like when you're in the bathroom, that's all you hear. And there's little speakers like
creepy. Let's not do that. Universe World coming soon to a planetarium near you.
Planetarium. Dave.
Or not. Yes.
What fuels you this morning?
What fuels me this morning? I am enjoying the last little bit of our Starbucks Reserve Christmas blend, which is tasty. It's supposed to have a note of cheerful citrus, not some of that like angry citrus stuff. You don't want that angry citrus in your coffee.
Angry oranges or Floridians.
No. Well, is that redundant? Only cheerful citrus, balanced with seasonal spice and the honeyed sweetness of marmalade. I am not always a marmalade person. I'm kind of glad I don't really taste marmalade, but it's good. And I was feeling a little foggy today, so I added a Ladybird coffee bomb, some happy cacao, which always makes me happy to say because I feel like Lightning McQueen when I say it.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Today I'm drinking it's Bird Rock Coffee Roasters out of California. They're actually pretty good. So it's a French roast, and French roasts are always great. It's a washed French roast, and then the flavor notes, baker's chocolate, caramel, and apple. And you can really taste those, and it's actually a really nice balance. It's not too acidic, which is great. I too have a Ladybird Provision coffee bomb in here, but it's good coffee, really solid. So nice. And then speaking of coffee, we're running a contest right now.
We are indeed.
Thanks for everybody who's entered so far. Good luck, everyone. The coffee has arrived because we are bringing coffee to the world because we feel it's imperative to share coffee with everybody. So you'll get 3 bags of Coffee and Capes coffee. The special mug that I got to show you this because it's really nice. It's really hard not to keep this for myself. That lovely noise.
Yeah.
What's a bag? but this is a Corksicle insulated Marvel coffee mug. It's beautiful. It's got some really nice weight to it. Super solid. It's going to keep your coffee warm long after you've left your house and you're listening to us on your way to work. So all the
to
stuff
play
is,
or wherever you're going.
or wherever you're doing.
Now, whoever wins that giveaway giveaway, it's a giveaway where you get away to all the geek culture stuff that you like, but it's a giveaway. If for some reason it comes to you and you just find that there's some like sort of generic ceramic plain mug in there, you will know that John decided to keep that cool Marvel mug for himself, and you need to let me know so that I can, get after him.
I would never do so.
I know you would never do that. Probably.
All right. Like, I don't know what happened. You got a sippy cup. That's weird. All right.
That's so cool. How did you say this already? I'm sorry. I might have missed it. How can people enter the giveaway, John?
A lot. There's a lot of people that have entered the giveaway.
No, how can people do it? How do they go
how
about?
Can people do it? If you go onto our Instagram or you go onto Facebook and possibly Twitter, you'll see the post for it, and it'll give you directions. You can click on the link inside of our Instagram profile to be able to find the page where you can enter. It's really simple. Just go into the page, click as many things as you want, get all the entries, recommend it to friends. You guys can split it. You get 3 bags of coffee, so you'll stay heavily caffeinated for a while. You get the mug from Corksicle. We're also giving away a $50 gift card to Graham Cracker Comics online, favorite comic book store of both of us.
Yes.
And then you get a series of dry coffee bombs from Lady Bird Provisions. We talk about them all the time, so we wanted to send those along for you guys to enjoy. And then we're going to throw in a $50 gift card to Regal Cinemas, so you and a friend can go grab a movie, because it's kind of a thing with us.
It is a thing with us. We enjoy all the movies and the comics and the TV shows and all the things, and we want you to enjoy them too. We assume you do enjoy them. That's why you're listening to us, I would imagine.
Yeah, probably. Or you just think we're entertaining for some odd reason.
Yeah, that's probably not it.
Some people do, and that's okay. And thank you. If you do find us entertaining, awesome. Thanks so much.
Great.
What's next on our list?
It's time for everybody's favorite new segment, fan fiction.
That's right. It is. And so along with fan fiction, one of the things that we are going to start doing is sending out a little thank you bag of coffee as a way to just say, hey, thanks for taking the time to leave us a comment and a review. This one comes from our friends over at Hops and Heroes on Instagram. Love the conversations we have with these guys, but he states he actually had an interesting thing about Eternals. He really liked Eternals and said a few things with Eternals. I love the gods are beings from another planet concept. I liked how they did it in Prometheus as well with the engineer concept, which is cool. If you've never seen the movie Prometheus, it falls in with the aliens kind of canon. Yeah. And then also the characters were all very relatable and humanized. I expected very little and was pleasantly surprised. The internal conflict many of them dealt with was also well done and gave the characters some solid depth in a relatively quick fashion, since we were just introduced to them. So interesting take from Hops and Heroes. I really appreciate it. That was like the first person to say those things specifically around the movie. And I've been thinking about going back.
Too many people really go to bat for Eternals, but so I'm glad for that. I want that to be a movie that people really like and enjoy. I mean, that's, that gets us back to why we call ourselves enthusiasts, because we want these things to succeed. We want the movies and the books and the TV shows. We want them to be good. And sometimes 100%. They are. Often they are. Sometimes less, but we want them to be good. So I'm glad when there are people that say, wow, this really hit the spot for me. I think that's terrific.
Yeah, and I've been debating watching it again since it's on Disney Plus now, and giving it a second chance. And
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more inspired to do that now because of what they said about it. So thanks.
And I do think there's a precedent in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's at least been some hints that that Asgard and it's the Desians of Asgard are just people in space from another planet, not so much gods, as it were. Like they were treated
Right.
as
Yeah, that they're
gods,
aliens.
but they're aliens of some kind. So there is a little bit of a theme of that, I think, in the MCU.
Yeah, I think so too. It's interesting. It is interesting. So I'll go back and watch that again and check it out.
Yeah.
So today, Dave, what are we talking about?
We thought we would take this episode, number 19 here, to just talk about, what kind of things are we geeking out about these days?
Yeah. And it's, this is one of those conversations. Sometimes we talk about these things a little bit in advance to get an idea of where we might be going. And today was just kind of, hey, let's just talk about what we're geeking out on. And this could be a really broad subject as well, because there are some things that I geek out on that kind of fall outside of the world of comics and movies and
How dare you?
Pop culture. I know.
You're only allowed to like one type of thing. Haven't you heard that?
Yes.
Stay in your lane, John.
I know. I'll stay in my lane. But I think for me, one of the things that I'm geeking out on a lot lately has been kind of this expansion of the Suicide Squad universe with Peacemaker. He's everywhere right now. Like I'm buying Suicide Squad covers that are variants with him on it. I'm definitely going down that rabbit hole. And the only reason that's happening is because of the amazing work that James Gunn has done with it, not only in with the character in the Suicide Squad, but also in the show now, Peacemaker, which we'll review at some point. And John Cena, man, somebody posted on, I think it was Facebook or Instagram the other day when we posted up the Black Adam pick, right? Because and talked a little bit about Black Adam like now being a little bit more exciting because we've seen Peacemaker, and Peacemaker is such a high quality show and really well done. And somebody made the comment that the WWE is rescuing the DCEU. But I mean, it's not. It's a fair statement.
Yeah,
I mean, you got John Cena, who I think prior to this had done some movies and stuff, and he's actually got pretty good comedic timing if you go back and never watch some of the other stuff that he's been in. And he's not afraid to be funny at his own expense.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that's so important in this genre of things. Well, it's important all the time. Like, I mean, there's nothing worse than an insufferable type of person that like can't take a joke at their own expense. Like, come on, you got to be able to laugh at yourself. We all have foibles. You got to learn to laugh at it, I think.
I mean, I'm perfect, but
well, okay. I mean,
yeah. But he's done a good job, and in this show, man, so good. I'm it's so really glad that James.
I think I'm only 2 episodes in, so I don't want to, no spoilers on that one. But
yeah, no spoilers. But can we talk about? I need one of our friends to get married so that I can organize that dance from the opening credits of Peacemaker right. And have that be a thing. I told Rachel last night when we were watching the most recent episode, I was like, I almost wish this had come out prior to us getting married. I would have absolutely 100% made sure this was done at our wedding.
That would be hilarious and fantastic.
It would have been so good. Way better than the Macarena.
So much better. Better than the chicken dance.
Oh God.
Better than
why?
Better than YMCA.
Yeah. But YMCA is a close second. It's classic. Like that's classic.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
Village People, 1970s ish. All the men dressed up as specific characters.
Anyway, maybe that's not a road we need to go down.
All right, fair enough.
So I'll say this about Peacemaker. I was talking to a friend this week who's not not real big in the geek culture stuff, doesn't really care about comic movies or whatever, but has been watching Peacemaker because he's a John Cena fan.
Oh wow.
And loving it. And now he's like, oh well, do I need to go watch the Suicide Squad? And like,
absolutely.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you absolutely need to go watch that. Yeah, right. That's cool. Like I never really thought about that. I always kind of figured, I guess he does have a pretty strong legion of fans.
Right. And and my friend's not like a wrestling guy either, but it's just, it's kind of interesting how different segments of a population can be brought in to a product like that, or brought into a show. Like, he's doesn't care at all about the comics. It doesn't really, other than just the stuff that's in the ether of our culture.
Right.
But he doesn't seek it out like we do and read anything. Sure. But here's a character that's a deep dive into a comic world in a way, comic book world, but bringing in a mainstream fan, if you will. And that's pretty cool. Like I like that's a thing that can happen.
I think that James Gunn might be the king of bringing deep dive characters to the screen in meaningful ways.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, as much as I've read over the years, we may have talked about this on the pod, that before Guardians of the Galaxy, I was kind of sort of aware who some of those characters were, but I couldn't have told you anything about them.
I think the closest I got to anything Guardians of the Galaxy related was reading the Annihilation Conquest storyline in Marvel, which involved Nova and Negative Zone. And but outside of that, I remember going to watch Guardians of the Galaxy I lived in Boston at the time, going to watch Guardians of the Galaxy on the screen and sitting down and not knowing what I was getting into.
Right.
And by the end, I went with a friend of mine, and she was like, well, what do you think? I was like, that was amazing.
Yeah. It's so funny, so entertaining.
Chris Pratt, he gets a lot of grief from a lot of people just because of, like, I guess what he talks about in media and everything else. He is who he is. Like, just let him be. But man, he nailed Star-Lord.
He did. I mean, he's involved heavily in a church that's pretty actively, or at least maybe not actively, but is fairly anti-LGBT. So that's part of the reason he gets some pushback, and that's not cool. But yeah, I agree. But he's still an entertaining and good actor, and he has, well, as we like to say, he's got the look.
Yeah,
for Star-Lord. He's made that character his own, and it just makes you smile pretty much every time he comes on the screen.
Yes. And the voice work, it was really funny to think about Vin Diesel being the voice of Groot.
Yes.
And Bradley Cooper is the voice of Rocket.
Right.
And you're like, how is this gonna go? If I didn't know Bradley Cooper was the voice of Rocket, you couldn't have convinced me that he was.
Yeah.
And Groot, Vin Diesel did such a good job with, just the inflection, how many different ways you can say I am Groot to bring like personality to that character.
Right.
So anyway, before we end up spending a boatload of time on just the
accomplishment of rabbit holes and how one trail leads to another.
Dave, what are you kind of geeking out on right now?
So I have been, if you're watching on YouTube, you can tell, I've been geeking out on Invincible lately, and not the movie with Mark Wahlberg about the player.
That's a good movie though.
Yeah, it's fine. But the comic, oh gosh, I'm gonna blank. Is it Image Comics? I think that does.
I think so. I think.
And then the Amazon. There's been a show on Amazon Prime.
We only have one season so far.
Yeah,
they're starting season 2 though.
That's the rumor. So I started watching the show. I'm like, oh man, this is good. I need to start reading the books. And shout out to my local library, to Naperville Public Library is amazing. And I've been able to get a whole bunch of the collections. So what would be the graphic novel versions, the trade paperback versions, only online, get to the online version of them and just read them one after the other. So much so I reached my limit of
Nice.
digital downloads. And now I've got to wait until February, until the calendar turns to the new month before I can keep reading.
Womp womp.
But yeah, exactly. But I'm just it's such a good story. It's interesting and it's funny. And if you're, if you can see the background, I mean, frankly, there's a lot of blood. It's pretty violent, but in a way it's graphic in the sense that it's telling the story visually, and can be kind of gory too. But I feel like it earns it. Like these are beings that are really, really strong, and I like that there's collateral damage. They have this two super, super strong beings, and they fight each other, and buildings fall on top of each other, and people die, and there's repercussions for it.
Yep.
I think it's really good. I really like the developing relationship between Invincible and Eve. I think they're both likable. They're looking out for each other in a way. Like they're just they seem good for each other. It makes me want to root for them. I don't know what's going to happen in the future of the story, but they're really good together. Like there's just some interesting characters, and we're starting to see that where I'm at, that Omni-Man maybe has some other layers to him, that he's maybe capable of more than just being a complete D-bag. Like it's pretty great. Like I am all into it, and I really, really hope that Amazon Prime makes another season or 2 or 3 of this show. And I do I've noticed, because the books were written in the mid 2000s, like 2005, right. 6, 7, 8, kind of that time frame. And so, here we are 15 plus or so years later, and the show they've made the show, the characters in the show, more diverse, looks more like what the real world looks like. Like the book is pretty monochromatic. So I really like that the show is updating that in ways to make it look more like the rest of the world. Kind of like Peacemaker. Like I'm looking at your background on Peacemaker, and there's a wide variety of types of folks in Peacemaker, and we're seeing that in Invincible, and I think that's great. Everybody should be able to see themselves in the geek culture, because that's kind of the point of culture, that everybody belongs. So I think that's been a really good, to me, that's been a positive update from the book to the show.
Yeah. I too kind of dove into the books. We talked about this a little bit, and one of the things that I think I'm really enjoyed a lot about Invincible from the screen to the book is the animation mirrors the comic, which is insanely so nice to see. Because growing up like we did, there was a very clear disparity between the animation that you saw in like a superhero cartoon, and then the art that you saw in the comic book.
Right.
It seemed as though you couldn't find a way to do that art justice on screen. Invincible and some other shows now as well, right? Some of the DC stuff, whatnot, has done a nice job of that. They really worked hard to give that good representation on the screen, and it's nice to see it starting to kind of get closer to one another.
Right. I'm pretty sure I don't have the stats, the facts here to back me up, but my sense of it is the same artist who draws the comic is involved in the TV show, and that's how you, at least in part, how you get such a seamless transition from one to the other.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is a great idea. Like, make the stuff on the screen look like the one on the book, and they have, and it's terrific.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain payoff to seeing characters that you love brought onto the big screen
Yeah.
as and in live action. But there's also something about seeing that art from the pages come to life on a screen as well. And it's just, it's just really nice to see. And I
Right.
think that for a long time that studios felt like they had to make it kid friendly,
Yeah.
and so the animation was geared more towards kids and not necessarily towards fans, which
Yeah.
I understand, but
Right.
you know, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And
Big fan.
we're I'm a year away from 50. You are 50, and I still watch cartoons in the morning on Saturdays. Like 100%. I still read comic books. I still, all those things. I want to see the art that I love done right on a screen and not,
Yeah. I I like too that as the story has gone along, just about every character has depth.
mhm. Yeah.
Like even Rex Splode, who is truly a d-bag to begin with, has an arc, a story arc that he's allowed to grow and change, and
Yeah.
that's been awesome. They're dealing with with grief. We talk about that a lot, actually, how much of geek culture is characters dealing with grief.
For sure.
And Mark has to deal with that, and his mom has to deal with that. Is it Debbie? Why am I blanking on the mom's name? um
Mom.
yeah, mom. Right. We're seeing that, like the the complicated relationship that Eve has with her parents.
Mhm.
um
Yeah, there's just
it's
it's
so
they
much. Yeah.
yeah, the writing team for that story really does a great job,
Yeah.
from start to finish. And
Yeah. Yep. It's really good.
it's beautiful. It's really well done artistically, storylines the whole way. Um, so yeah, I enjoy that one as well.
Yeah. Anything else? What are do you have other examples of stuff you're geeking out about right now, Dan?
Yeah. So it's funny. I'm wearing the shirt. If you guys are watching, you can see it, right? It's my Star Trek red shirt. Underneath the words red shirt, it says I might not make it. If you're familiar with Star Trek, you understand why. Because they literally sacrifice a red shirt in like every episode of the original Star Trek series. And we don't talk about Star Trek much.
We
And
haven't yet.
and you almost think that like it's kind of non-existent. But if you do any of the subscription channels on like smart TVs these days, which are so much better than doing like cable, in my opinion, the Peacock channel, which is like CBS and a whole bunch of other channels all kind of joined together, oddly enough.
Peacock's NBC.
I know, but it's still, oh no, Paramount Network.
Paramount.
Paramount.
Yeah, Paramount
There you go.
CBS.
Paramount. My bad, everybody. Peacock channel had Yellowstone on it, which I hardcore geeked out on all 4 seasons. But on the Paramount Network, they have a whole bunch of Star Trek stuff on there. And there is a cartoon show called Lower Decks.
I've heard such good things about this. I have not seen it.
Hilarious. It is so, I think it's so refreshing when something like Star Trek, which we grew up on as like this sci-fi drama, everything was crisis mode, like, whether they were dealing with Klingons in the original or it was Q and the Borg and, the next chapter or whatever it was, Romulans, there was always some kind of space crisis that they had to deal with. And it was always very dramatic. And, as time went on, we got better special effects, special effect filled. To see them poke fun at themselves, to see a Star Trek show that makes fun of Star Trek it's so good. It's really, really good. The animation's fun on it. They didn't try to serious animate it, but it's not like cheesy, crappy animation either. And the storylines, while they follow kind of a traditional Star Trek path of like, hey, we're dealing with this, and then some crisis comes along, it's humorous. The characters are, super entertaining in that they're all from like the lower decks. They're like ensigns, and some of them don't care about ever being promoted. Other ones like work really hard to become promoted. Other ones just nerd out on like the job and being an engineer and all these things. And they're just like, they screw up and then figure out how to fix it. They make fun of each other. It's really well done.
Yeah.
And super entertaining. Like if you haven't watched it, do it. And there's some other shows. There's a new one called Prodigy, I believe is what it's called. Another Star Trek cartoon we're waiting to watch. We're actually going to watch over the weekend and check it out because it looks pretty good. So kind of swinging into a little bit of like the Star Trek animation stuff.
Yeah, we need to do some more. We need to do some Star Trek work here on the pod. We haven't had any, as you said, we really haven't had any Star Trek. Well, there hasn't, other than what you're talking about, there hasn't been big Star Trek stuff in a while.
Well, you got Picard. There's a lot of stuff actually on the Paramount Network. There's Picard, there's Lower Decks, there's Prodigy, which is animated as well.
Yeah.
And then there's another one I want to say that I just briefly saw like something about. So it's going strong on the Paramount Network.
Yeah.
And that's a franchise that's had a strong following for a long time.
Sure. Yeah.
That probably got mocked more than any other like show or comic book following in the media.
That's right. Because it was Trekkies, right? Oh, she or she's a Trekkie. Like that means, a sort of code for weird person that likes a thing that only certain people are supposed to like or something.
Well, and they even made that documentary called Trekkies.
Yeah, that's right.
That, followed some of those folks around. And I think it was the tendency of that fan base to take it into day-to-day life that probably, led to a little bit more ridicule than some of the others, right? So you didn't see Star Wars fans dressing up as stormtroopers and going to the office, but there were all kinds of stories about people dressing up as Starfleet officers and going to work.
Yeah,
because that was their their thing and what they identified with.
Translate as somebody's like translating books into Klingon. Like I think there's done some books.
People learned how to speak Klingon,
right?
Yeah, only communicated with each other in Klingon. Like
it's bananas, but man, more power too if you can do that. That's pretty great.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
Now we're all Trekkies. We're all just geek culture stuff is kind of ascendant in mainstream. So
yeah,
it's pretty great. But yeah, I've been a little away from the Star Trek universe for a while. I'll have to try to correct that. Although I don't know if I can convince my family to add one more streaming service to all of our.
It's fair. It's fair. You have to we trade them off in our house.
That's a good idea.
We're like, oh, we're done binging this show over here. Let's sleep that one and we'll bring this other one online. That's what we did after we finished watching Yellowstone. Okay. We binged Yellowstone. If you haven't seen that one, man.
I'll tell you what I am binging right now. Another thing we're geeking out right now. My wife and I both. This is outside of the typical geek culture world exactly, but we're a little late to the party here, I know, but turns out millions and millions and millions of people were right. Ted Lasso is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Football is life.
Football is life.
Football is life.
Football is also death. But football is mostly life.
But football is mostly life.
We're not quite through with the we're about midway through the second season, and my gosh, we can't get enough. It's so great.
So good.
It's Jason so great to have a TV show where you just feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that it's not humor based on somebody being embarrassed or looking like a fool, or I don't know. I just stuff like that just gets me. I have this, I don't know, this is gonna sound like self-aggrandizing, and I don't mean it like that, but I get empathetic with characters, and when somebody's going through something in a show where they're about to be super embarrassed by what's happening, it just I get a pit in my stomach and I don't want to watch. Yeah, and that's not the way Ted Lasso is. It's hilarious and good-hearted and daggone it, I love it.
And we get things like Jamie Tart, do, 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 Jamie Tart, do, 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 do. You know, and I think what makes that, and I'm so glad you're watching it now, because I tried for like a year to get you to watch it, it feels like.
Yeah.
And it is because I knew you'd love it. I knew you and Joanne would love it. Rachel and I couldn't get enough of it. You know, we ripped through the episode so fast, and it's because Jason Sudeikis does such a phenomenal job caring for everybody.
Yeah.
Like just genuinely wanting to see the best in everyone, almost to a detriment of himself. Right. Until Coach Beard, right?
He's so great.
Makes the comment to him over, you know, pints in the pub one night that like wins do matter to these guys.
That was a great scene.
That was a such a good scene, you know, and it really like rang home with Ted, and because his main thing was, we're just gonna help these guys become the best versions of themselves that they can be, and the wins will happen. And you know, Coach Beard was honest with him. There's that honesty of like, they don't matter to you, but they matter to these guys. Like, this is their life.
Beard's kind of the unsung hero there. Like, I don't think he's quite reached Samwise Gamgee status in that regard, where I think you can make the case that Samwise is the true hero of that story, or at least I would make that case. I don't think it's quite that far, but I mean, he's the super important, largely quiet partner there, and I really like that role too.
I do too, and you know, it's chock full of amazing actors, you know, and characters. Roy Kent, so good. Just in his interaction with his niece,
it's so funny and so good.
The whole show, you just end up feeling good about everything, even when bad stuff happens. Like, it's not happening because, you know, of some crazy unrealistic situation. They're just human moments. And you see the human aspect of them. Like Danny, when he, at the very beginning of season 2, and like the opening scene, goes to do the free kick and accidentally hits the dog and kills the dog, and how traumatizing that is to him, until, you know, they bring in that the team psychologist who, and all of a sudden, like you quoted earlier, he's like, football is life. Football is also death, but mostly football is life. And he's just back on track. And you're like, man, this is life. Like, this is how life goes. I'm also a big Premier League soccer fan. I have been for years. MLS too. So this show has some other aspects to it for me that I'm like, oh, I love this. I get to watch soccer and humans.
I saw a thing on social media recently that's like, I feel like I want to get into, somebody posted, I want to get into Premier League football because I want to get up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday to be disappointed.
5 a.m. I will tell you, like, years watching Premier League and checking, you know, scores on ESPN. You know, I am a sports guy. I think we're both sports guys, right?
For sure.
We've talked about, you know, sports people being fanatics and geeks and geeking out on their stuff. MLS and Premier League soccer are two things that I have definitely over my life. I used to be a season ticket holder for the Portland Timbers.
Nice.
Missed that, like, stadium. Such a cool experience. But there is also, like, you get let down. You know, it happens. Anyway, but Ted Lasso, that's a good one. Man, so good. So good.
You got any others, John?
I've been getting back into kind of along the same lines of Peacemaker. I find myself, and we were going to talk about this as kind of our theme, and I think we'll shelve it for a little bit, but really getting into examining Harley Quinn's kind of evolution as a character, right? And as I mentioned in our conversation, one of the many conversations we had over the course of the week, it really seems that Harley's appearance in things is almost like a jumping off point for like successful storylines for the DC entertainment universe.
Yeah.
Right. Especially, and we're rewatching this now, but it's got to be my favorite animated like comic book themed show. I know we just talked about Invincible, and Invincible's great, but the Harley Quinn cartoon, so good.
It's really funny.
It is hilarious. I didn't know what to expect going into it. I was like,
Right.
oh, well, so they're going to do this probably like Justice League or something like that. Nope. Not like the Justice League
not even
series or anything like that. It is violent at times, bloody at times,
super profane.
Yeah, super profane, which, look, guys, I want to throw this out there. You can be appreciative of people being respectful, and you can be appreciative of manners and all these other things, and really appreciate a good F-bomb being dropped in a show.
Absolutely.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like have fun with it. Like, it's
Yeah.
okay to be human. It's okay to have a sense of humor. It's okay to do those things. And Harley Quinn nails it. But I think what makes it even better is she is a testament of like an abused, underappreciated like woman who finds her own way and escapes. Like, and we all know there isn't a single person out there who's going to be like, Joker's a really good guy.
He's just misunderstood.
He's just misunderstood, man.
Yeah,
he was really good to her.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But and it's an extreme case of that, but I mean, it's a great storyline to see the evolution of her come into her own and not want to be a sidekick anymore and take on the world. And there's some of that, like, I don't want to be a sidekick anymore stuff that comes out in like the cartoon series Young Justice, which I've been watching as well. So that's always cool, but it really kind of hits home with the Harley Quinn cartoon. So
yeah,
and her character in general.
Yeah. The relationship between her and Ivy, especially, it's just
the relationship with her and Ivy, especially. Yeah. And
I don't mean necessarily just the romantic relationship, but just the broad term relationship, the friendship that becomes romantic, and they explore all that and what that means for their friendship and everything else. Like it's I think it's really well done.
Yeah. And we get King Shark and Clayface, and Clayface is voiced by one of our favorites we've talked about before, Alan Tudyk.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
He's so good. It's very talented.
I have not watched Resident Alien yet.
I watched a few episodes of the first season. I think they just started a second season. I did not get all the way through it.
Okay.
But he's great. It's interesting.
He's always great.
Fun. Yeah.
Man, the saddest moment in cinematic history for me.
Come on. I know.
I am a leaf on the wind.
Oh
God, so brutal. Oh, I did hear, however, some network somewhere. This is exciting. The nerd in me is really excited for this one. Firefly's getting a comeback.
Really? I had not heard that.
Firefly is going to get a comeback. Apparently, it's going to be the story of like Mel during the war. So,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm cool with that. You put Nathan Fillion back in, it'll be a little weird because he'll look older, but
yeah,
whatever. Nathan Fillion's great.
Yeah.
But man, that show, short-lived,
yes,
was so good. And then the movie, I remember watching the movie and just being like, I can't believe this didn't do more, like make more. It had so much heart to it.
Yes. Yeah.
So much heart to it. But Alan Tudyk's like loss in that movie, just like even now, like my throat's like tightening up. It's like
yeah, it was heart-wrenching for sure.
Heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Dave, what else are you geeking out on?
All right. So again, thanks to the library. I don't know if it's gonna show up. I've been reading a book called Black Hammer. It's there it disappears. So I can't.
Yeah, it's disappearing, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so once again, this one was I found this. It's been around for a little bit, a few years, 2017 maybe it was made. But I heard an interview on another podcast with a guy named Terry Gant, and he's the owner of Third Coast Comics here in the Chicago area.
Okay.
And he was asked, what's something people should check out that they haven't yet, and he mentioned this Black Hammer book, and I'm like, all right, I'll check that out.
Right. Yeah.
And I literally checked it out. Thank you again to the library, because libraries are awesome. And it's really good. So I'm like 6 issues in, and it's really interesting. The idea is there's this team of heroes that saved the world, but somehow in the saving of the world ended up trapped in some like small town thing, and they can't leave the town. They're like living on this farm together.
Right.
They haven't really, at least so far, they haven't figured out why they're trapped or why they can't leave. Other people can come and go from the town, but they can't leave the town somehow.
That's an old Twilight Zone episode too. There's like a similar old Twilight Zone. Scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Where like an alien puts a giant dome down on top of a town, and people can't get out, and they go down the road, and all of a sudden they see headlights coming towards them. Yeah. They're like, oh my God. And every now and then the lid lifts up like a dinner plate, and they just pluck a person out. I assumed as a kid to eat them.
Right. Sure.
Right. Why else? But it's interesting that somebody's taken that, because that was a terrifying idea, right? The idea of being trapped somewhere. Yeah. So I would imagine I'll have to check out that book, because
it's really good. So it's kind of it's ostensibly a superhero story, but it's kind of also in a horror-ish setting, and and really exploring the relationships they're in. And it's really pretty good.
That reminds me, actually, I got to look it up now. Where did I find it? Find that thing. There was yes. So there's a book series written by a guy named Peter Clines called X Heroes. If you've never read it, there's a series, and it's essentially like the zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
But there's these superheroes that are also part of the surviving groups that help to keep everybody alive and everything else. And so, but there's super villains still alive. So there's, but it's so good. I read through all of the books. I think there was like 4, and really well written, very engaging, really interesting how, they address the idea of being a superhero and what that looks like, and how these people got to where they are. And then, the role that they take on as not only a hero anymore, but ultimately like a massive line of defense against an apocalypse for the last surviving members of, anything. And in later books, they come across like military base that's still operational, and what that, looks like. And if you've ever seen any post-apocalyptic anything, when you find that military base, it just usually doesn't work out well.
Right. Yeah.
Which I do want to throw this out there. Having been in the military and knowing lots and lots of people in the military, I don't think it's fair that in every apocalyptic show there is, the military base ends up being just solely populated by psychopaths.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's a generalization.
That's not fair. Yeah.
I get it. We're furthering the plot.
Yeah.
But come on, guys, you find something else, right? They're not all going to end up just going drunk with power. Like there's solid members of the military who would do anything to try and help protect and save. Like,
Well, see, maybe that's the problem. Maybe the assumption there is that all the folks that were in that base that were more selfless in their approach had already given their lives in defense, and all that are left are the narcissistic ones that are running the base. But still, your point is well taken.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
It shouldn't require such a end around to figure out why that's
come on, guys.
Yeah,
no, it's not fair. Man, and I just had a thought about something else I was nerding out on recently that I'm now lost. I can't think of it.
Well, one other one I got through was Bebop Cowboy, the live action show on Netflix.
I stopped after one episode.
Well, apparently so did most people, because I guess it got canceled. And I remember I think in like the third episode, I'm like, what is happening here? Do I really want to keep going? And it turned into one of those shows that I would kind of have on while I was
like in the
working
background
out or something, or or like I was on the elliptical or something. And and I ended up really liking it.
Really?
Yeah. The ending, pretty damn dark.
So Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Right. Is
did I say Bebop Cowboy? It's Cowboy Bebop, isn't it?
It's Cowboy Bebop.
Sorry.
You said Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
You're good. Yeah.
I thought maybe I said
you got
Bebop
it right.
Cowboy, which is some weird version of some like movie from the 70s or something, but
no. Probably. It's all right. But that's a very classic anime.
Right.
Like,
I'm aware. I just haven't seen the anime.
And it's one of those that's revered, right? In the anime circles, there's a number of those stories, but it's classic, I think, on the level of things like Robotech, Macross Saga, and some others. But Akira, which is great film. Trigun, lots and lots of like really great anime, and Cowboy Bebop has been in that. And so I think expectations were super high to see this brought to the screen, and you had a good cast, and you had some good special effects. But even as someone who enjoyed the anime, after episode 1, I was like, it just felt like it didn't hit the mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't say I'm geeking out over it, so maybe it doesn't belong in this list, but it had a weird vibe from being like trying to be kind of like super serious and scary with all the vicious stuff to like kind of campy in some of the adventures and whatnot. And it for me, it wasn't a tremendous mix.
Right. Yeah. I think, shifting gears into something else that I've been geeking out on, there's been a lot from this particular creator in social media lately, Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld, if you know who he is, was the guy who created Cable, Deadpool. He created Image Comics back in the early 90s. And we just recently hit an anniversary for Deadpool, right? So Deadpool's 30th anniversary since he was created, and he just did a whole bunch of variant covers for a lot of books that included Deadpool in it. But he's been posting a lot, and he's been posting a lot about some of the Image stuff that he did way back in the day. And man, there was some amazing stuff done with Image Comics, just absolutely amazing back when they launched, and really relevant at the time. And so I've been just kind of falling back into that little bit of nostalgia and enjoying, like, looking back at the evolution of Rob Liefeld's work, and appreciating his contribution to the comic book industry, because really it's pretty significant if you take a look at it. And on top of that, it leads me back down the path of like doing things like rewatching Deadpool. And Deadpool's one of those that like I put on in the background when I'm out in the garage working out. Like, I love, it's just one of those that's fun to work out to, because every now and then when you're taking a little breather, you look up and no matter where you're at in the movie, Ryan Reynolds is cracking some joke.
Right.
I will say this. We have been at our house obsessively trying to find the PG-13 version.
Yeah. Of Deadpool 2.
Yeah. It is nowhere to be found on any digital platform at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can't get it on Vudu. You can't get it on Amazon, nothing. And both Rachel and I are like, we have to watch this, because you have mentioned a number of times that you actually think it's better than the rated R version.
I think I enjoyed it more. Yeah, I did, with the interactions with Fred Savage and all that. Like it's next level funny, I think.
I saw we looked up some stuff on YouTube, like little clips of Deadpool and Fred Savage.
Yeah.
There are only like a couple that are available, and it looks so funny. Like, yeah, looks so funny. So Rob Leaffield and
Isn't that
watching
weird how that happens? Like just that something just suddenly just you can't get it. In this day and age, you think everything's available. Well, yeah, maybe because it was sort of a Christmas centric thing. But still, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think you can get like the Ewok Christmas special.
Well, that's true.
Thank God.
Or the original Star Wars holiday special thing that everybody said was terrible.
Because it was. Because it was so bad.
I don't really remember.
Swinging a mess.
Specifically. Hey, well, everybody, what about you? What are you geeking out to lately? Let us know. Leave us a comment on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, or send us an email. All those things. Leave us a comment on YouTube. I don't even know. Do we have comments out available on YouTube? I'm not sure.
People can leave comments on YouTube. Yeah, for sure. Like leave a comment on YouTube. Yeah. And again, if we read your comment as part of fan fiction, guys, we'll send you some coffee, maybe. Send you out some coffee and you can enjoy coffee.
Yay, free stuff. Everybody likes free stuff.
Yeah, we just like giving stuff away, because
we do like giving stuff away. And what better to give away than coffee?
Coffee, comic books, all the stuff that fuels us and keeps us going through day-to-day life.
Yes. And gives us things to talk about, like today.
Yeah. I feel like today was all over the map. Like we were just kind of like.
But that's the beautiful thing about geek culture. It takes you all over the map, right? There's so much. And we're still just scratching the surface, obviously. Like it's just the things that are on our radar right now that I would love to find something new. Just like this Black Hammer thing, where I'd never heard of it, but now it's on my radar. I'm like, oh, I got to check this out. And so I did. And, so please, we want to hear your suggestions of things that you're enjoying right now, because we're always up to learn about something new. Yeah, absolutely. And they don't even have to be like, you know what? They don't have to be geek culture related. Right. Let us know what you're into. Like there are things that are not geek culture related that I am hardcore nerd out on, like CrossFit. Anybody that knows me knows I nerd out on CrossFit pretty hard. It's true.
Yeah. So, well, thanks everybody for like giving us a listen, as always.
And I'm so glad, John, that despite your shirt, you did make it through the episode.
I did. I
did not have to sacrifice John for the sake of the episode.
But it would be great to have the ability to animate like a laser bolt and just explode right here.
Yeah. We need to make that happen. Production team, make that happen.
Yeah. If anybody out there in the world has like the ability to make that happen, you let us know. We'll send you the file if you can make a pew explosion happen.
That's pretty awesome. All right. Well, everybody, we hope you had a good time. We know we did. Let us know what you think. And until next time, true believers.
Bye, guys.